feel welcome to share the link that I'm going to send out afterwards here. So that's great. All right. It is on my computer clock 2:01. And Pastor Jeff, you are the maestro here. Can I begin? May I start? You are the one. Yes.
Live it up. Live it up.
All right.
If people miss the beginning, of course, they can always listen to the recording. So
they can, absolutely. Well, before I start sharing my screen, I just want to welcome you all to this short meeting just to go over the trip that we have to Greece in the footsteps of Apostle Paul. A wonderful, wonderful journey that personally I've done it several times. I will just introduce you really briefly to me. First of all, you've probably noticed that my accent is not exactly American. It's I call it a Greeklish. It's a Danish Greeklish. My name is Anne Fulby Olsen, and I am the director of the group department with Executive Travel, and I have been with this wonderful company since 2010. I live in Athens, Greece. I was born in Denmark. So guess what I did this morning? I was watching the coronation from 6 o'clock in the morning. New Danish king, Frederick, with whom I actually went to school with. So we have some fun stories that I'm not going to tell. But it was good to see him become the king today. It was a very big day for me. I'm born in Denmark, lived there for my first 25 years. Then I married a wonderful Greek man. I moved to Athens. And I have lived in Athens, Greece since 1993. So I've been there for 31 years soon. But I work here with Executive Travel. I commute from Greece to Lincoln, Nebraska, approximately every 2 months. This time due to the weather, yesterday it took me 3 days to get here. Normally it takes around 30 hours, but I got stuck in Chicago and arrived yesterday. So, but thank you for jumping on the meeting and just being with us today. We wanted to do it in person, as you know, but due to the cold weather, we just agreed with Pastor Jeff that we would do it this way. It's kind of better for everyone, so you can stay at home and stay warm. During the presentation, Pastor Jeff, you are with us, and I have a dog barking. I don't know who that would be, but if you mute yourself, there we go. Paula, I'm going to mute you. I can do that from here. It's very smart. So no dog, though we love dogs. But Pastor Jeff, you and I met and we spoke about this journey, and you were interested in doing it, hosting it, for which we're very, very thankful. It's a wonderful journey. We've done Footsteps of Apostle Paul with Executive Travel a couple of times, even lately, last year too, with a group of women only. But thank you for being willing to give it a try and host this tour. We will be next to you all the time. But it's great to have you.
Yep, I'm excited, and I've wanted to do this for a while. We booked it a couple of times, and COVID, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of COVID, but COVID got in the way, and so it was canceled due to COVID, and we had it booked again. And Melinda and I got COVID about 3 days before we were supposed to leave, so we couldn't go. So this time, God is going to come through. I'm confident, hopefully confident, that we'll do this and get to see some great places that Paul journeyed. I'm excited about doing that. So
that's wonderful. So what
I'm
I will do
excited to
now,
have you, because living in Athens all the time, you live there.
yes.
Excited to have you as a tutor for all this. So
yeah. And I'll be next to you. I may not travel on the trip with you, but I will be next to you. I guarantee you that. And I will see you all when you get to Athens for sure. So that's wonderful. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work. You will see things here on my very messy screen, but there is logic behind my madness. And then I will go up and I will do a present here, and hopefully I hope that you can see my my screen. I see a few of you on my right-hand side. Can you just verify that you see my entire screen? Perfect. Super, Jeff. I can see you up in the corner. Good. So we will get started. The journey of Apostle Paul in Greece. for us takes place in October of this year, the 3rd through the 14th. Paul was in Greece approximately 1.5 years, and that was from 49 to 51. So, but we are traveling this year in October to Greece. I don't think we need further introductions to us, but I do want to start out, as I always do. I love maps, and I think it's important to see where you're going actually. So, of course, you know you're going to Greece, but what areas are you traveling through and to as you're over there? So the first part of the trip is the land trip, and you will fly to and from Athens. From Athens, on the arrival, we will take a domestic flight up to Thessaloniki. Few words, I'm probably going to pronounce them in Greek or with a Greek accent. That's just because I'm used to call the names and the places in the Greek language. So, but you're flying from Athens to Thessaloniki upon arrival, and then the journey overland starts. And we're going to go all the way over to Philippi, or Philippi, as we call it in Greece, to Kavala, the port where Paul entered Greece. And we will see Philippi. We'll go through the Via Egnatia ancient trade routes. We'll stay in Thessaloniki for a couple of nights, and then travel through Varia, down to Meteora, further down to Delphi, Athens, and of course, ancient Corinth. Once we get back to, excuse me, to Athens, we're going to take a cruise to some of the most wonderful islands. And also we're going to hit the Turkish side. We're going to stay for about 8 to 10 hours in the areas of Ephesus. Kousadasi is where the cruise ship is going to dock. Visiting Ephesus, and then the island of Patmos, down to Crete, Santorini, which is probably familiar to most of you, heard about Santorini, and then going back to Athens and traveling back home from Athens to the United States. So this is how the journey looks like on a map. The day-by-day itinerary, and Pastor Jeff, you just interrupt me, you interfere me, you just stop me and chime in whenever you want to. If we have any questions to the days or to the program, feel free to interrupt me if you want to, but we will also leave time at the end of the presentation for any type of questions that you may have. But we are starting on a Thursday from here over in the United States. Yes.
So you had said also, we talked earlier, your Wi-Fi is having some trouble. So if you disappear, or if we disappear, then get back on again, and we'll do our best just to remind people of that.
Thank you very much. I had issues yesterday. Hopefully it will last. But if I disappear suddenly, I will definitely click right back in, and we'll start where we ended. But if you also break out, just feel free to click on the same link and come back into the presentation. Thank you, Pastor Jeff. So the first day we're leaving the United States, and there is an overnight flight to Athens. We will depart early in the morning from Omaha via Chicago, just a one stop, and then from Chicago directly to Athens, where we are going to arrive on Friday morning. Scheduled arrival 9:25. Upon arrival, you will meet me, and you will meet also your professional tour guide, who's going to follow you all the way from that very moment until you fly back to the United States again on the 14th. Together, you will take a domestic flight in the early afternoon to Thessaloniki. It's a very short flight, 55 minutes at the most. They usually kick those planes up there in half an hour, but it's a short flight, and we decided to fly instead of driving you overland. It has been an alternative sometimes if the flights starts giving us some problems, which hopefully not. But it's a longer drive. It's about a 6.5 hour drive. So we thought after you've been in the air for many hours to get to Athens, it's quicker to just fly you up to Thessaloniki. You will arrive in the afternoon there, and you will be a little bit tired from traveling. So what we're doing that night is just a dinner together at the hotel, and then you can go and relax. If you want to stroll a little bit, you can do that. Thessaloniki is a wonderful, wonderful city. It's on the water. And there is around 1 million inhabitants nowadays in Thessaloniki. It's a very important city for Greece, the second largest city in Greece. And it's also a university city. So we have some of our most important universities located in Thessaloniki. So it's a lively city. You will always have the students out in the evening. So, and it's a safe city. Greece is a safe destination in general. So don't feel intimidated by walking outside. Just stroll if you want to that evening and then get a good night's rest. In the corner of every slide, I have marked what we provide. D is dinner, B is breakfast, L is lunch. So you will see that, and you will also on certain slides see an amount of mileage. That's the miles we're driving, just to give you an idea of how much are we sitting on a motor coach during the daytime. What are we doing? The second day in Greece is the third day for you on the journey. We will spend it in Thessaloniki. We're staying in Thessaloniki to see the highlights of the city. And they include the White Tower. It's a landmark of Thessaloniki. Our tour guide will explain to you all the details. You'll get to see many more things than what this slide has listed. But we're going to go through the city of Thessaloniki, during the Roman times, during the Byzantine times, during the Hellenistic era, and also modern times, of course, and see some of the most important places and sites in the city. One of them is the St. Paul's or Apostle Paul Church, located very high above the city. And next to it is also the monastery of Lateran, where Paul stayed during his time in Thessaloniki. He was looked at upon from some people as a riot, if I can use that word. So he stayed overnight certain times at this monastery that you're going to experience as well. There was a synagogue at that time that we know for sure that Paul visited 3 times at least. So that's also places that we're going to see. Generally speaking, we'll do a city sightseeing of Thessaloniki with focus on where Paul were at that time. We'll also have a wonderful lunch at one of the local restaurants, and then you'll have the late afternoon and the evening at leisure, just to, again, maybe get rid of the last bits and pieces of your jet lag and relax and have a good night's sleep as well. Bear in mind the tour guide will be with you all the time. So if some of you would like to stroll in the evening or later in the afternoon, there is always someone who can walk with you if you would like that as well. And now, Pastor Jeff, interesting things here, because we're going to travel a little bit east this day, 200 miles in total. That means 100 miles out, 100 miles back, to the city of Kavala, or Neapolis, as it was called back in the days of Paul. Neapoli, it means nea is something new. It's a Greek word, and polis is city. So it was a new city, and that is nowadays called Kavala. This is the port where Paul entered Greece. So it's a very important city and an important place. From there, we will travel up to Philippi and visit Philippi. I want to speak a little bit about Philippi, but maybe you can chime in as well, Pastor Jeff, here. Philippi is important. This is where Paul met Lydia, the woman who has a very big, played a very big role for Paul. She kind of allowed him into the community. It was a Roman settlement, or actually a city. So it was ruled under Roman law. Lots of Romans were living there. And Lydia was a lady that Paul met at the spring down by the river. And she actually listened to him. And there wasn't a synagogue, of course, in this place in Philippi at that time. But he met Lydia. She took him to heart. She let him overnight in her house. And she also opened the eyes to Paul that they could use this site, and it became very important because of the river. So back in the days, I believe they believed in baptizing people in living waters. So this whole site has a river go through it, and it was very practical that you could sort of, for Paul at least, baptize people in the river. You could start on the one side, go through the river, be baptized, and then as a baptized, step out on the other side, entering the, what can we say, Pastor Jeff, the I would say Society of Christ of Jesus. That sounds very basic, but
the beginning of their Christian life, their orientation to the Christian life, right? So, and that comes from the Jews, I presume, and their need to have living water, to have fresh water, running water for their baptisms that the Jews did back in Israel as well. So that's kind of an Old Testament thing. And so that'll be really cool to see. That'll be really great.
yes. And what you will also experience is stunning mosaic that was done back in those days. So we talk about 4950 of the entire area. You will see that at the entrance of the church. It's absolutely stunning, and it's like a map of the area of when Paul was there, how he entered, how he went around, how he traveled also on the Via Egnatia road, which was the ancient trade roads all the way from East Istanbul to Rome, actually. And you will see a part of the Via Egnatia road inside the Philippi site. It's there, but we will also stop along the way to see more of this road. Impressive, right? It's still there, and you can still see it. You can still feel how people were walking, how this was an actual trade route. So spices, gold, everything from the east came to Rome, ended in Rome via this road. You'll also see a very impressive lion monument. It's actually a grave monument from back in the days of Alexander the Great. So we're talking about 350, 360 BC. Is when the era of Alexander the Great ruled and had a very, very significant influence on that entire area. So very interesting day today, but Philippi will be a place where you're going to spend some hours at least learning about the importance for Paul, the entire area, learning about Lydia, the spring, the river, the baptistry church, the mosaic, and everything. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll have lunch at a local restaurant up in Philippi that day as well, and then be back in Thessaloniki in the evening. The following day, so when Paul left Thessaloniki, he visited Veria. Veria is a city not far from Thessaloniki, just about, I would say, maybe 45 minutes drive from Thessaloniki, and we'll make a stop there. There was a synagogue that we will also visit, and there's also a wonderful tribune to Apostle Paul in Veria city. Of course, when Paul left Thessaloniki and he traveled south, he didn't do it through land, he sailed. He was on a boat, but we're not going to do a boat tour. We're going to do a land tour, because you will see other things as well. Maybe not related to Apostle Paul, but unique places in Greece that I am really excited about you seeing. And one of them, I don't know, Pastor, would you like to speak about Veria, or should I just keep traveling south?
I think keep traveling. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I keep traveling. Okay. You will end this day in the afternoon in a place called Meteora, and meteor is a Greek word again. I will keep saying that. But Meteora is a really interesting place as well. It's unique. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a place where you had originally 24 monasteries placed on the top of these cliffs. It's absolutely amazing. 6 of them are still in function. And we will visit 2 of them. And how are you going to get up there? You're going to climb. What's the problem? No, you're not going to climb. We will have our motorcoats go as close to the 2 of the monasteries that we can get to. And from there you walk, but you're not hiking and you're not walking for hours. It's from a parking platform up to the actual monastery. So this place is completely unique. From the hotel in the evening, at the bottom of this valley where you have the monasteries, they're lit up at nighttime. You can see them from your hotel in the evening. It's absolutely wonderful. So we're visiting this place. It's also a place, just to say something that's not so relevant to this trip, but anyways, James Bond movies have been filmed several times flying around. You can imagine the monasteries on the top, like in Switzerland as well. It's just one of these places. So it's interesting. It's a very good break of the trip to overnight. It's 145 miles only this day, so it's wonderful. So I'm jumping further down here. We're traveling south again next day, ending in Athens in the evening, but we will stop in Delphi or Delphi on the way. So Delphi is considered in the ancient world as the navel, the center of the world, for many reasons. There were actually the Pythian Games, something similar to the Olympic Games, took place in Delphi. Pythia is the ancient name for Delphi, and it was also where the Oracle of Delphi, or Pythia, was sitting and predicting the future for the visitors in the ancient times. It's very interesting. You will see the actual center point where she was sitting, and what we know is that they had various herbs that they were burning, and some fumes and smokes came out of those type of herbs. And of course, she could predict anything after inhaling some of those fumes. And she was talking to people, and the people listening also got affected by the fumes, and they believed in her. So she had a very, very big and great power back in the days. People actually believed what she was saying. So that's an interesting place as well. But there is a wonderful theater in Delphi. There is a beautiful museum, and you're going to visit that as well. The site is absolutely beautiful and very interesting place, and a historical, very important place in Greece. We will arrive in Athens in the evening. Our hotel is located with a view to the Acropolis, to the Parthenon. We will do a dinner at the rooftop there. Here is the Parthenon over here, and relax that evening. And maybe, again, if you're not tired, you can stroll in the old town Plaka. Just nearby. It's a 5-10 minutes walk from the hotel. So that's an evening at leisure after we have a dinner together. Next day is focused on Athens, of course, and there are several places that have a big importance to Paul and to the history of Apostle Paul. One of them, of course, is the Acropolis and Mars Hill. So we'll start with visiting the Acropolis. We'll spend some hours up there, and also visit the hill, the Mars Hill, from where Paul spoke to the Athenians. Pastor Jeff, I'll drink some water and while you explain a little bit here.
Well, sure. This is a big deal for Paul, and a big section of scripture in terms of his preaching there. And so I'm just excited just to hear you talk about all these different places as we head down, going south in Greece, to get an idea of the culture that Paul was dealing with. And there's nothing like being in the place where those things happen to get a real sense of the New Testament culture, which I'm just looking forward to it continuing to open my eyes and understanding the New Testament and understanding the people that Paul was reaching. And I'm just excited about it. It's great. Yeah.
And you will get a feel once you stand on Mars Hill. You will understand how he could speak to the Athenians, as we say.
Right.
Right below was the old agora, or agora. So that's the marketplace. So being up on the hill gave him a focus. People were focusing on Paul. He was standing up there speaking to the Athenians right on top of the actual marketplace that would always be full of people. There was a lot of trade going on. There was a lot of political conversations taking place in that exact area. So you will understand once you stand up on the hill why it has was such a perfect spot in Athens to speak to the Athenians. So that's Mars Hill. We'll go down in the old town and have a lovely lunch in Plaka, the old area of the old part of Athens. And then we'll continue with a city tour of Athens, of course, seeing various sites of great importance as well. One of them is our Kalimarmaro, the Good Marble Stadium. This is where the first Olympic Games took place, the first modern games, and that was in 1896. Athens had kind of hoped for the Olympic Games to come back home in 1996. So 100 years after the first modern Olympic Games. Thank goodness it didn't happen because the city was not ready. So we got the games in 2004. And it was a wonderful experience. I worked with the organization of the Danish television and helped them coordinating the Olympic Games in 2004. It was an absolutely fantastic experience. But the games have roots back to, of course, the ancient games in ancient Olympia in Peloponnese. So that goes back to 776 BC. And what you will see, what's interesting is that you can see the ancient stadium down in the corner here. It's like a one long track. And that is what we still have in Athens. This is the stadium. A stadium is also a form of measurement. So it's a Greek word. It's about 600 feet. One stadium is 600 feet. And what you did back in the days in the Olympic Games, one of the disciplines were running. You didn't run around as you see at a track trace now. It's like a round stadium. You were running back and forth. So it's a 600 feet stadium. And you will see that also in Athens, the modern Olympic Stadium is looking, that was in 1896. Today it looks like on your right-hand side, but it's a long stadium. It hosts about 70,000 viewers. So it's a big stadium. It doesn't feel like that when you just stand there and look at it. But once you get inside and go into the depth of the stadium, you can understand. But the reason why it's long is because they copied the actual stadium down in ancient Olympia, which is a long stadium. Enough about that. You will see the parliament you were building. You will see the University of Athens. You will see the library and lots of other things with the tour guide this day. But that's it about Athens. The evening is for free. If you want to stroll, do that. It's you're in a safe area and you can walk around the city with no fear. The last full day in on the mainland in Athens. Well, we're leaving Athens because we're going to go down to visit ancient Corinth. One of my personal favorite places. I love Peloponnese, but ancient Corinth as one of the places that I believe still has an aura. That's another Greek word. When you arrive in ancient Corinth, you will, if you feel like me, you will feel that there is something in the air. And I truly believe it's from the ancient times. It's from the time also where Paul were there and he spoke to the Corinthians. It's a magical place. It's one of the sites in Greece where, like many other places that you're actually visiting during your journey, where you can see how things were. Because sometimes you go to a site and your guide will say, can you imagine? And the only thing that you look at is a field with a stone. And it takes some imagination to understand that here was a temple, here was the agora, so the marketplace, here were the shops, here were, you know, everything, the pipes from the running water. In ancient Corinth, you can see this, you can really feel it. You will, I will say this, it doesn't matter. You can even see the toilets, so you can understand the restrooms. We talk about practical things, and that's what I really like about certain sites in Greece, that you can still feel that they are standing in a way that you can at least see and feel what it was. What you will also experience in ancient Corinth is, of course, the columns. And I don't know if you are familiar with the three different types of columns.
Just because
I'm going to mute this phone that was talking. Okay. Greek columns, we have three different columns. We have the Doric columns. They're very straight, not decorated hardly at all. We have the Ionian columns, beautiful columns. It looks like a sea, kind of a wave on top of it. And then we have the Corinthian columns. And all three of them were very, very important to the Romans as well. Rome, if you've ever visited Rome or Italy, I always say that the Romans copied Greece. It's an architectural thing that was very important for them to have. All houses, all places were built by columns holding the house or the place. So the Corinthian columns are beautiful, beautiful. You will see them here. But what is also interesting is, of course, the original columns that you can see bits and pieces of them down in ancient Corinth, but they also still grow the wild acanthus. The acanthus is the plant that you see forms this beautiful decorated column. To me, that's extremely cool to say it in an American way, but just seeing the plant that is actually the plant that you used back then when you built a house with the Corinthian columns is beautiful. So, and the wild acanthus is a very rare plant nowadays. It's very difficult to grow, but you'll still see it with your own eyes down in ancient Corinth. We'll have lunch in the area, and then before we head back to Athens, another very, very peaceful, beautiful place is the port of Kekries, as I pronounce it in Greek probably, where Paul also landed in when he traveled to ancient Corinth. He came by boat, and you can still see the port. It's a very, very nice site. I was there just a couple of months ago, and there's been more renovations, and you can really get a feel for this is a landing place. The importance of the sea again for trade, for everything. Ancient Corinth was very, very rich. It was a rich place. There was a lot of trade going on. And Pastor Jeff, it's where, of course, Paul spoke to the Corinthians, and you will see the platform. You will get a feel for where was he standing, speaking to the Corinthians as well.
Yeah, and that and the canal is, to me, an amazing thing. I'm excited about seeing that because it makes the economy of Corinth. It really drove Corinth to be the major city that it was. And so to understand again the background of what made Corinth what it was, and all the craziness / debauchery and stuff that went on there, because it was like the New Orleans of as you picture New Orleans. New Orleans isn't all bad, but nevertheless, the picture of New Orleans, that's kind of what Corinth was. And so, and that's because of the canal. So exciting again to see some of this background play out in Corinth. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was our ancient Las Vegas, so to speak.
There you go. Yeah. Yep, there you go.
So yes, absolutely. So that's what we're seeing. We're coming back to Athens that evening, and that is at leisure for anyone, and then a good night's rest. And then the last part of the journey is absolutely wonderful as well. We have included a cruise. As I showed you on the map, we are traveling. First stop is Mykonos. Then we go to Ephesus to get the feel for the seven wonders of the ancient world. Ephesus itself, it's beautiful, beautiful place. We're traveling down south to Crete first, and then to the island of Patmos. And Pastor Jeff, it's about St. John in Patmos. His cave is there. There are shore excursions that you can join for just a very, very little amount of money. Go and see that place as well. Before we travel to Santorini the last night, and then come back to Athens. But it's interesting that we can kind of include also, I think, St. John in this journey, and visit his cave and the church there as well on the island of Patmos. So that's that's wonderful.
And that gave us everybody's favorite book of Revelation. So there you go. And
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You will get back to Athens to disembark. And that same morning, we disembark around 7 o'clock in the morning. And we have been so lucky that we got a flight at 12:20, traveling back again, one stop in Chicago, and then coming back same day to Omaha at night around 10 o'clock. So that is the day-by-day journey. Apart from seeing the sights, visiting the places, understanding the Greek philoxenia, Greek word. Philos means friend, xenia is someone, or xenos is someone who is a foreigner. So we take pride in calling the foreigners a friend, philoxenia. So you will understand that when you come to Greece. I think Greek people are very welcoming to foreigners. They make them their friends. You will taste some wonderful Greek food. The Mediterranean diet is absolutely wonderful. Apart from that, also, I always say it's all Greek, and it really is, if you ask me. You will understand some very important things about the language today that we all speak, and you speak Greek, you just don't know it sometimes. You speak Greek too. Few words, the tour guide will go over things like this with you, which just enhance the trip and makes it so interesting. But like I mentioned in the beginning, the poster behind me here is from theaters. A theater is theatron. It's a Greek word. Thea means something that you view upon, you see something, so you see a performance. So a theater, theatro, is a Greek word. We have panoramic. How often do we say, oh, look at this beautiful panoramic view, which you're going to see from Mars Hill. You'll see the panoramic view of Athens at your feet. Pan, it means everything. It includes everything. And an orama is something that you see. So a panoramic view is actually two words, panorama, in Greek, is the view of everything. It's a panoramic view. I could go on. The stomach is a Greek word. Dilemma is, di means two. Lemma is an assumption for something that but if you have like a dilemma, you are kind of split in two directions. What am I going to think here? So that's another Greek word. I could read it all. I'm going to jump further down to some practical information, but I want to just make sure that you understand that apart from the journey in the footsteps of Apostle Paul, you will also have a whole educational session from our guide about Mediterranean diet, about the language, because everything is Greek, as I say. So that's it. We do have a price for this, of course, and the land price per person in shared double is $4,595. That includes also the cruise, of course. The airfare economy class is $1,675 per person. And if you have people that are friends or family that comes from a different place than Omaha would like to join, we can make that happen. And what we will probably do is to tweak their hometown or their nearest airport and get you all to hook up together in Chicago and then fly together over to Athens. We take care of that. In the prices also, of course, included the domestic part of the journey. So the trip from Athens up to Thessaloniki that we are flying when you arrive. Included is the meals that we talked about, of course, transportation, this entrance to the sites, and et cetera, et cetera. If you like, you can reach out to us and ask for a brochure. I know that at the church or with Pastor Jeff, there are brochures available. If you are not near to the church or to Pastor Jeff or Melinda, just reach out to us here at Executive Travel to get your personal copy. We're happy to mail it out. Or come down when it gets a little warmer to pick it up from the office. Feel free to come down. I'm here for a couple of weeks this time, but I am also available always to speak to you. Once you register for the trip, there is a $500 deposit, which is non-refundable. So consider travel insurance at this point in time. Our team will tell you all about that when you sign up. It's significant, I think, to have a travel insurance when you leave the United States. Just be covered for all types of reasons. Even if something happens to other people in your family when you're gone, you will be covered. We have a balance that's due on June 5th, so we still have time. And then we do a similar to this Zoom meeting to hand out our travel documents, usually approximately 3 weeks prior to the departure. And if we see we have travelers from other places than just around Lincoln, we will do it via Zoom. If you're all in the city or close by, we may do it in person as well. We may do even both things, just to go through all the documents of your trip, all the ins and outs about currency, about passport validity, about everything that you can think of, adapters, electricity, whatever we talk about, it's all in your document. We'll go through that in person as well. We have the weather. Want to mention that before we wrap up here and open it up to questions. The time of the year that we have chosen is great to travel in Greece. It's very convenient, the temperatures, to travel and get on and off a motor coach to go out and see places. The currency in Greece is the euro, and you do gain quite a lot at this time. It's almost a 1-to-1 conversion, so it's a great value for you to travel to Greece and to Europe in general. The dress code during the entire trip is casual, and we do have an activity level that we listed as a 3 out of 4, and that is because we will be standing quite a bit at certain sites. We will walk probably around 3 to 4 miles a day, so consider that as well. Just wear your good old shoes that you feel comfortable with. We will be walking a little bit on the sites just to reach the places within the greater sites that we're visiting, but also we will be standing. So we have listed this as a level 3. If you have any questions for that, just let me know and we'll definitely answer that. For more information, reach out to us here at Executive Travel or to you, Pastor Jeff. You can find Pastor Jeff at church or call you. I didn't list your phone number here. I don't know if that's something you want to share here online.
Well, they could certainly, reach out to me at the church. That's one way to get me, or email is also probably a good way to do that. And my email is J and then my last name, jscheik@christlincoln.org. So jscheik@christlincoln.org. That's probably the quickest way to do that. And also we'll probably be having, typically, Melinda and I have led a number of trips to Israel. And so typically what we do is have some times when we meet ahead of the trip to just get to know one another and talk a little bit about what we're going to see and those sorts of things. Just to kind of, because we're all excited about going. And so we want to get together and help with that. So we'll probably have a couple of times. We haven't set the dates yet, but before we leave in October, maybe one in August, one in September, where we get together and just get to know one another and get ready for our trip. So that'll happen as well.
That is wonderful. And I want to just mention one thing more here, that sometimes people hesitate to sign up because, are we going to be enough? Are we going to go? So here's the scoop about that. Sign up if you're interested. There is a no risk with us with Executive Travel. If we don't gather the minimum 20, we have a maximum of 30 on this trip. That's when we're going to close it, just because it's a good size for a group going. We don't want to go 50 people. We want to go maximum 30. We have a minimum of 20. But if you're interested, reach out to us and sign up. If we, for some weird reason, will not meet the minimum of 20, we will pay you back all your funds in full. And that includes also the premium for your travel insurance. You have no money in the game at all if we happen not to see that we get the 20 people, the minimum required to take off. So if you consider, help us by signing up, register, because that helps us to communicate to the rest of the world that this trip is taking off. We can guarantee the departure soon enough to make sure that you also know that your plans in October is Greece. That's important as well. So any questions, anyone? I think I will let the recording run and I can adjust that afterwards. But are there any questions that you would like to ask us? I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you all. I think that's better. Here we go. Any questions to any of this? And remember, you might be muted if you want to ask some questions. You are awfully quiet. Well, folks, if you have any questions, then I will say you either contact Pastor Jeff or Melinda or me, myself, or anyone here at Executive Travel. give us a call. I am here until the end of the month. But even when I'm back in Greece, I work on American time zone, so you can always find me. My team can always connect you with me, and I am more than happy to give you more information, to tell you more about Greece. I would be very excited to see you on the other side of the pond. And I'm just so grateful to Pastor Jeff and to Melinda for giving this an opportunity. I think that this is a beautiful trip. It's a beautiful journey, including the focus on Apostle Paul and St. Paul, but also seeing a country that I call home for the last 31 years. Greece is fantastic. So I hope to see you all. I hope this makes you hungry for more. Enjoy your afternoon, and Pastor Jeff, last word from you.
I'm excited, and I will say Anne does, if you email her, she answers email all hours of the days or night. So when she answers, just at the end of your email, say, please go to bed now. That's enough. So she's incredibly responsive and just wonderful. So great to work with. So I'm excited about going, and I know some of you and meeting others of you, and it should be a great time. So I'm excited.
Thank you so much. And thank you for hosting it. And Melinda, I'll see you soon too. Everyone, thank you. Have a wonderful and warm afternoon, and reach out if you need anything. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.